Hello and welcome. I am Raziel. Now, I want to talk about the Necrons. I have a history with Necrons. I don't really talk about them much. They're not my favourite faction by a long chalk, but they're not my least favourite either. I'm not saying I hate them, because I don't, but I do have a history. And just to talk about this, because I do like talk about some of my old games. Back in 4th and 5th edition, I still play Eldar. I played Eldar big then and a decent force. And when I would play in the Belfast store, I would play the same guy. And he played Necrons against my Eldar. And more often than not, the game was a tie. And for every game I won, I would have lost against him as well. It was quite an evenly matched game. And we fought quite well. And one of my favourite memories against this guy, is one I talk about a lot, is that during the game of Apocalypse, Belfast set up this massive Apocalypse game, good versus evil, and I was put across from him. And the monoliths could create this barrier which would resurrect anything inside. And it was a fantastic way. You have 3 monoliths, it would resurrect whatever's inside. All you had to do was destroy one to destroy this barrier, and so I did. I sent Fugan with 5 fire dragons. And they destroyed the monolith. The monolith went explosive and totally blew up. And Fugan walked away with 0 wounds taken. The fire dragons were absolutely annihilated, but Fugan, the boss that he is, because he is one of my favourite Eldari characters of all time, walked away without a scratch. Actually, he went ahead and killed so much more that day. He won the day for me. I love Fugan. So yeah, I fought Necrons quite a bit, and I had no issues with them. And I think one of my biggest issues with why I've never been attracted to them as an army or a faction is because they're all silver. Now, I painted Grey Knights and I painted Custodians, so painting a silver metallic army, it's not something I enjoy doing, but it's something I find it quite easy. But Grey Knights and Custodies are obviously high points cost, so I'm not doing a lot of them. Unlike Necrons, which, you're going to be painting a lot more. I'm not a big fan of doing a lot of big horde armies, unless I can do unless I really go out thematically for them, and then I've got to do some sort of variation, which is why my biggest army I've done to date is a full company of Blood Angels, which included a lot of Death Company and Sanguinary Guard, just to break up the monotony of all that red. Anyway, as I was saying, I've never had an issue. It's just not a faction that I've been drawn to. But they have had a decent retcon, and one I quite like. I know that this can be polarizing. Some people don't like it, some people like it, and I'm actually a fan of it. I quite like it because Games Workshop has many armies which are mindless automatons. They have Thousand Suns, Iron Hands, and the Mordian Iron Guard. Completely automatons and just go ahead and just don't think. And having another one like that with Necrons kind of just added more to the pile. And that's actually quite a big lot of... Well, you could include Tyrannids into that mindless part as well. So that's 5 different factions in a, that's a high, 10% of all the factions are just mindless automatons. So to me that's a problem. And I think now they've made this change to the Necron lore that they're not mindless automatons, but they have levels of sentience, which I quite like. Now, the way it works is that the lower the rank of a Necron, the less sentience it has. So the Scarabs and the Necron Warriors, they have no sentience at all. They are just, robots. They're soulless robots. The higher up, like the Silent King, Trays in the Infinite, they're completely autonomous. They know exactly what they are. They know who they are. They know what they're doing, and they know, they have plans, goals, and everything else. When something is a mindless automaton, it doesn't have that, and it's harder to find any reason to be interested in their lore when it's just a mindless robot. And mindless robots have been in science fiction for a long time. So then again, you have a generic skeleton robot army, which is completely mindless, in a sea of mindless killing machine robots. You have the Terminators for a start. You have the, I was going to say the robots from iRobot as well. They just do what they are told, and that's it. And when you have that so much, they kind of just blend in. And Games Workshop kind of had to do a way of showing that Necrons aren't like everyone else, that they are different. And so, they're Egyptian, but again, we have Thousand Suns, which are mindless automatons Egyptians as well. But the Egyptian aesthetic's quite cool, I do like it. So they gave them these different levels of sentience. And this, all of a sudden, we have not just goals for the Necron race entirely. You have individual goals for each of the named Necron characters, like Trades in the Infinite and his collection, the Silent King, trying to do what he wants to do, and everything else. So we have more, we can now add depth onto the Necrons themselves, and we can see more into them, which is always a good thing when it comes to lore. See, when it comes to retcons, I always ask myself, what does it add, what does it take away? And what sentience adds to the Necrons is more character, adds more depth, and more, you can see that they're not just evil killing machine robots. They actually have something behind them. It has a little bit of spark behind their eyes, but they've actually got a plan there, and they have a goal. Sometimes it's eradication of everyone on that planet who are not Necrons. Other times it's galactic domination, and with others it's just they want to cure a disease that affects them. So there's empathy as well there. So there isn't just a logical intelligence there is an empathetic intelligence, emotional intelligence I should say, as well, which again adds so much more to their lore. I'm not saying it just adds everything, because it does add a lot. It, however, does take a little bit away, because mindless robots are frightening. They're absolutely having an enemy you can't negotiate with, that is unstoppable and is just out to kill you, is a terrible and terrifying idea to begin with. If we look at the Terminators with Skynet, what makes them so terrifying is that they are unstoppable and they have a singular goal. There is nothing going to stop them from eradicating the human race, which is why we have the whole Terminator series. And the Necrons, being that way, made them incredibly terrifying. And I like that. I think it's quite good, even though, again, it is pretty much it's generic at this point within science fiction with killer robots. It's so generic that not even that long ago, Mass Effect is over 10 years old. Oh my god, I'm so old. Had a mindless killing robot. It's actually got many, the Geth as well. I forgot about the Geth. Has killing robots, as part of them. So it is something that's quite common. But when you add sentience to these mindless killing robots, you add a far deeper part to it. And another good thing about it, which I quite like, is that if it is got sentience and it's still going to kill you, it's got intent as well. Mindlessness doesn't have the intent. If there's intent behind it, you can add a lot more fear to it as well. It could be a lot more terrifying if there's an idea or reason why it's killing you, rather than just its AI is telling it to kill you. And that can, you're in its way. It wants it wants to dominate the planet it's on, and then you're in its way. It's going to kill you, but it has a reason rather than just being that way. Anyway, I've rumbled on a lot for the first one, and thank you very much for watching this Necron video. I hope you enjoyed it. Quite interesting, actually. I like the fact that there's sentience within the Necrons now. I think it's interesting. I think it's a good move, and having it as different levels as well. But not everyone has the highest level of sentience. That some of them are still quite, autonomous. Not autonomous. I should use that word wrong. Still pretty much soulless, but have a little bit of knowing of what they're doing. And then you've got ones who have no idea what they're doing. They have no idea what they're doing. It's just fantastic. I think it's great. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope to see you all again soon. What do you think of the Necrons? And what's your opinion on this retcon? I quite like it. And I'll see you all. Links down below for Wayland Games. There is Forbidden Planet and my comics and my merchandise as always. And I'll see you all again soon. And have a happy new year. Goodbye.